People coming from humble beginnings and coming from certain circumstances, they do one of two things, right? They get the victim mentality and they blame that for the reason of them not becoming. Or they use it as fuel, they use it as motivation to become, right? And so I made up in my mind very early that I wasn't gonna have that victim mentality. Whatever circumstances I came from, whatever my situation was, I was determined to make it out.
You're listening to For Real Though, hottest new podcast in the street.
Can't go wrong with you, dig?
With your host Jimmy Rills and co-host Queen Nesha. Tap in now. Nah, for real though.
What up? Welcome to For Real Though. It's your boy Jimmy Rills, aka Mr. King Energy. We got the lovely Queen Nesha in the building. Say what's up.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
And we back with another video for y'all today. Queen, tell them what we talking about today.
So I got a question for you.
Alright.
So what we're talking about, my question is the business of figuring things out, right? We all know we get in situations or we find that life hits us in something that we either didn't plan or we weren't prepared for.
Okay.
But specifically what I want to know from you is what made you be the father that you are today? How did you figure it out? You didn't grow up with a father,
Right.
and God blessed you with two boys
Right.
that looked just like him. No denying that. I'm just saying.
Right. We got good genes.
So how did you figure it out? What made you the father that you are currently today?
I think that's a good question. I think, first of all, I wanted to be what I never had, right? And I feel like people who I come from very humble beginnings, single parent household. My mom had me very young. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. In fact, my mom had me when she was 15 years old, right? So I understood struggle, I understood sacrifice, I understood hustle at a very young age. And I never had a father figure in my life. And I wanted to be what I always wanted. So that was kind of my biggest motivator. And I feel like people coming from humble beginnings and coming from certain circumstances, they do one of two things, right? They get the victim mentality and they blame that for the reason of them not becoming. Or they use it as fuel, they use it as motivation to become, right? And so I made up in my mind very early that I wasn't gonna have that victim mentality. Whatever circumstances I came from, whatever my situation was, I was determined to make it out. So I would say my upbringing is what made me the father that I am today and made me that figure it out type of person. I also get a lot of that from my mom too, because I seen her do that. You know what I mean? She had 4 kids by the age of 21. So I'm used to seeing her hustle and figure things out. And that really stuck with me. That really resonated with me.
Okay. Well, let's dig a little deeper here. So, if I go back in time, October 12th, 2007, your first son is here. What do you do? You know, specifically too for the young men out there that this is their first time parenting, this is their first time fathering, and especially if you have your kids young, in some people's eyes, you were, 20?
Yeah, that's 20.
So, you know, it's not all club life and going out. You diaper bag and diapers with a bottle. So what was your roadmap to, how did you step into your becoming the moment he got here?
For me, I think, well, first of all, let's keep it real. I'm a 20-year-old kid. having my first kid, I'm scared shitless, right, at this time. I'm terrified. I mean, I had so many different thoughts and emotions going through my mind. You know, I just didn't know what it looked like. And God would always give me a sign periodically to let me know that whatever I was feeling anxious about, whatever I was worried about was manageable, right? But I think that it starts with the mentality. That's the biggest thing that I can speak to, is that my mentality was that I am going to be present no matter what, right? And I wanted to educate myself as much as possible. I seen it play out a lot of ways where it's just like the moms have full control of the newborn baby situation, especially if you're dating your significant other or maybe y'all not together at all. And what I mean by that is, you know, the whole saying, mama's babies, daddy's maybes. Well, I made up in my mind that wasn't going to be my mentality, right? I wasn't going to be a maybe, right? And although I loved her, I made up in my mind that I was going to be present with or without her. So whatever it was that she was doing, I wanted to know how to do it. Oh, you giving him a bath? How you do it? Show me how. We weren't living together at the time. We were in 2 separate households. So I knew that when he would come over to my house and I would have him by myself, I needed to feel comfortable and confident that I could take care of this newborn baby, this human life form, right? That's a part of me. So it's just like I had a mentality of wanting to learn. I wanted to be a sponge. I was kind of hovering. I'm sure I was a lot, asking a bazillion questions. Well, why you do that? Well, why you know, how you do this and how you do that? Learning how to bathe him, learning how to feed him. There was times where I was coming over in the middle of the night when she couldn't sleep. I was, you know, rocking him on my chest back and forth, singing ABCs, just figuring out how to soothe him. I was reading baby books. I was asking other more seasoned parents questions. Asking my mom questions and just kind of taking different experiences from different people and different avenues and kind of making it my own. But I would say that the mentality is definitely the biggest thing. Like, you got to make that conscious decision that, hey, I'm going to be present. And I'm not sure what a good father looks like, but I know I'm committed to figuring it out. And that was my mentality.
So without having that visual in your brain, what you did was you mentally just said, no matter what, I'm going to be present.
Facts.
So when did the parenting James meet the spiritual fathering James?
It was trial by error, right? At 20 years old, I wasn't super spiritual, right? I was still I was young, I was lit. You know, I absolutely was still living my life. I had some bumps and bruises along the way. I would say...
When did, like, what... I guess I want to know, and I think other couples should know, when did it hit you? When did you have that aha moment, like, just parenting?
Yeah.
Parenting as in, okay, making sure you have a routine for him, making sure, you know, you're sticking to his schedule wasn't enough. You also had to be spiritually present. You also had to be emotionally available to him as a man. When did that hit you that, oh man, he needs this?
I think it hit me at different levels, and it was a different type of impact at each level. There was shit got definitely real for me when he was born. I actually seen him come out of the vajayjay, and fellas, that do something to you, something totally different, like seeing the placenta and cutting the umbilical cord, and it just made me emotional because it's just like, holy shit, like, I'm responsible for this. Like, I don't want to mess this up. I just felt like it was a fragile thing, that it was so fragile that if I fumble it or if I drop it, it could break. So when I first had him, seeing him in the hospital, that was a moment. And just gradually along the way, I would say another moment was he turned about 7 or 8 and he started to kind of get into sports and playing football and being active. Actually, no, before that, when I first taught him how to ride a bike, he wanted to learn how to ride a bike. And teaching a kid how to ride a bike is like a life lesson in itself, right? Here's what I mean when I say that. So you're teaching this kid how to ride the bike. The kid is terrified, right? And you start off slowly and gradually with the training wheels, and you practice with him and you practice with him, and you start off kind of guiding him, maybe to make him feel comfortable. You hold your hand on the back of the seat, y'all running up and down the street while he's learning how to balance, right? And then over time, as they feel more and more comfortable and confident, then you take the training wheels off. And you still kind of guiding them, you're still kind of close with them, letting them know that you behind them with support, but he's kind of steering it himself. And you loosen your reins the more and more you practice until eventually you let him go, right? And so he's pedaling and he's pedaling and he's pedaling, right. And it's straight for a second, and then the wheel starts to wobble and then he falls. And you're like, oh shit. And then you run over to him and you encourage him, you say, that's all right, that's okay. And in the kid's mind in that moment, he just failed, he hurt himself, he scraped his knee. He's probably thinking, I don't ever want to ride a bike again. Like, this is crazy, I don't want to do it. But you encourage him and you basically give him the lesson that it's okay. Sometimes you're gonna fall down, you gotta brush yourself off, you gotta get back up and you gotta try it again. I feel like that's a lesson in life too. Life kind of works the same way if you think about it. We have to give our kids permission to make mistakes. And we got to be there to guide them and help them along the way, but we can't overparent. At some point, you're going to have to learn to let them go and allow them to try to stabilize.
So it's like riding a bike.
Parenting is a lot like teaching them how to ride a bike. It's a fact. Let me ask you a question though. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, like for you, because you was a first-time mom, what was it like for you, and describe the whole situation with you for new moms who may be pregnant or may be expecting, adjusting to you having to share your body and your hormones being all over the place and you having to adjust to parenthood. What was it like for you?
So, that's a loaded question. I feel like being pregnant for the first time, you do experience a lot of different things. You know, your body is changing, your hormones are changing, and you're getting adjusted to this human that is inside of you. But honestly, it doesn't feel foreign. Like, the baby doesn't feel foreign. I think our bodies are amazing. The way God intended for women to carry babies, our body, it's almost like we adjust to a familiar feeling to something that was completely foreign before we became pregnant. So I feel like the pregnancy is one thing, but then coming into parenting, you know, for me, my story was a lot different than yours. You know, I had the older females in my life that were mothers already, and who mothered me and who I watched mother. So I had a visual in my brain already of this is the image of what a mother is supposed to do, which is surprisingly still be present, be there. Like, it's important to be there. It's important that not just your baby, but your child feel you're present. Like, feel that you're emotionally present, that you're physically present. And it's always, even now as my boys are getting older, we have a teenager and then we have a 11-year-old, it's even more evident that I need to be spiritually present. You know, there's so many different changes that teenagers can go through. Our son is just coming into high school. So, you know, it's about like riding a bike. I'm learning how to hold the seat, but now kind of back up a little bit. And now he's at the age where I have to let him fall. But the difference is when he falls, I can't always run over to him and help him back up. It's important that he knows what's inside of him, his confidence, what he's capable of. And he's only going to know that if he's allowed to test it himself. That's something I can't demonstrate for him. But with good communication and him always feeling my presence, always knowing that, you know, even communicating to him, whatever you need, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here. You know, he knows that. So even in those, my hope as a mother is, even in those moments when he falls, he still knows that mom is in the background. If I really need mom, I can reach out to mom. But he still needs to experience falling, and he needs to experience disappointment, and he needs to experience failure. The world isn't fair. The world is cruel, especially to young black boys. The world can be harsh. It can be a very rude awakening. And in my eyes, I'm not doing my job if I don't give him the tools to come into his own and be confident in the areas to deal with life appropriately. So parenting now is completely different. I feel like as your child gets older, you in seasons you change the way you parent. When he was 6 months, 5.5 to 6 months old, my oldest, just learning how to crawl, that was the first time as a new mom that I saw confidence, encouragement, that I needed to encourage him that you can crawl. You know, that's when you put the toy in front of them and you try and get them to crawl to the toy. He would crawl and then he would cry and you would want to go run and pick him up, and then he would crawl and he would just stop. And I thought something was wrong with him. I was like, maybe there's something wrong with his leg. So I made a doctor's appointment and took him to the doctor. Like, okay, something might be going on. But he got in the doctor's office and perfectly fine, crawling. And she's just like, you know, Nesha, and I'm talking to my mom about it too, like, you know, he's spoiled. He's being lazy because he knows when he cries, you're going to come over and pick him up. So, like you said, I relied on the mothers who I saw mother and who mothered me to help guide me and help me figure it out. So I feel like I had more of a hand of guidance through parenting, where being for real, there was times when I got pregnant and going through the motions because he's a great father and you've always been a great father, but I still wondered to myself, how is he going to father never seeing a father? Because remember, in my brain, I had a mother.
You seen an
example.
example.
So I seen it. So how I'm like, how is he gonna figure this out if he don't got no example?
Commitment, bro. Commitment and sheer will. Something that you care about, something that you're passionate about, something that you want to make happen. You're gonna be resourceful. You're gonna seek out the information. And kind of what I want to get into is maybe some of the different challenges that we faced in parenting. Do me a favor. I need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash that like button, hit that bell icon for notifications so you can get notified every time we drop a new video. Comment below on what you think and share this video to really help us out. Because you come up a certain type of way, I come up a certain type of way, and there's a lot of things that we're aligned on, but there's also some differences too. So kind of getting on the same page in terms of parenting. What was that experience like for you, and
for me,
what comes to mind, just like as far as some of the different challenges?
It was frustrating. We were completely opposite. My household growing up, my household was very, my mom is 7 kids, including myself. Well, actually a total of 8, including myself, but my oldest brother passed away. So my mom, she was married for 25 years, then divorced, and she was divorced for, don't quote me, some years, and then she remarried, as I say, my real father, and was married for almost, 13 years? 13 years, so I'm the middle. I have 2 older sisters over me, and then I have a younger sister under me. So my household was very chaotic at times, because it's a lot of kids, it's a lot of us, but it was still very structured. My mom, between my mother and my older sisters, we had routine. We had dinner at a certain time. My mom cleaned at a certain day. She cleaned every day, but she had her days when she would really deep clean on Friday or Saturday before the weekend. There was days that chores needed to be done, and everyone was assigned a specific chore. There was dinner, breakfast. There was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack. My mom was a cooker. She was a baker. We had a garden. There was structure. So merging with Mr. King energy over here.
For sure.
It was initially when I was younger, when we were in this, it was frustrating. It was very frustrating because I was more structured. He had a routine, so getting you to still adhere and understand the routine, especially not staying in the same household and not being as, even the little things, not as organized as I was.
But here's the thing though, one of the biggest challenges that comes to it is us getting on the same page, right? Taking her belief system and the way that and her experiences from how she was growing up, and taking mine, and then kind of compromising and merging those together. Because it's an instant conflict when it's just because she's the mom, she feels it's supposed to go like this, and that. I got him on this system. And as the dad, I'm but I want to do this with him. I want to parent him this way. I think we should do it like that. And so there's kind of a clashing, and just kind of learning how to work with each other, I think, and compromise and merge together. And ultimately that comes down to kind of picking and choosing your battles. The things that I was really passionate about, I'm gonna fight for it, period. Nope, I'm standing on this. I really believe this is the way we should do it. And the things that I really didn't care that much about, okay, I'm gonna let this one go.
But I feel like that was more as the boys got older. I think when the boys were, your kids are younger, especially babies, you don't really have that, this is the way we should do it, because you don't know and you're just trying to figure it out. So I think because you showed up, because he was present, it made me have a level of respect for him and a level of understanding. So the understanding was, for me, compromise, not to be that new mom that's okay, do it this way. Well, if you're going to wash them this way. It made me kind of be a little bit more relaxed. Okay, well, he wants to learn this. He wants to, know why we use this soap, why not the other soap. Things just as simple as that. So I definitely think it's having that willingness and open mind to understand that you're both figuring it out, and having the grace for your partner to allow them to, figure it out their way, what works best for you while you are parenting him, so we can be on the same page. But I think ultimately we've always, the foundation of our moral beliefs have always been the same. So it made parenting, even in the rocky times, at our core, our foundation, we were the same. And what I mean by that is we both believed in Jesus Christ. We both wanted what was best for him. We both wanted what was best for him regardless of how we were both feeling. So I think we've always had that understanding. And I do think that it's challenging to parent or co-parent in that way if you both are butting heads and you want it your way and you want your other partner wants it their way. Like where's the resolution? How do you get yourself to a space where you're willing to not feel like a pushover, not feel like a punk, but for the greater good, resolve and get that other person to see that, okay, the greater good and the big picture is this human, to create a awesome human being. I
think it boils down to the communication aspect of it, right? I mean, it's just like problem solving with anything else.
But what if you can't communicate?
So the first key of it is listening, right? So, and there's a psychology to listening. If we can't listen if the whole time we got something that we want to say, right? So it's what I like to call listening to understand, not listening to respond. Because she has an opinion and a perspective, I got an opinion and a perspective, and really I'm just waiting on your lips to stop moving so I can make my point and get you to understand my side.
But you
I don't think
that at 20.
I don't think that's effective. In retrospect, I'm looking back on it. Even at 20 though, I still kind of had some idea of that. Now, did I practice it consistently? No. No. But ultimately, the key to that and trying to problem solve is just listening to understand. Okay, I know what I want to say and what I want to get her to understand on my perspective, but let me hear her out, really try to understand where she's coming from. And hopefully she does the same thing for me. You know what I mean? But one thing that I kind of want to dig deeper into is the beginning. It's great. Actually, all throughout parenting, there's great times, but it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, right? Your patience is going to be tested. Your nerve is going to be tested. They're going to try you. And so I want to kind of get into some of the challenges of disrespectful kids. And
I think that should be that's another conversation.
No, this is like real talk though that people going through, and people like kind of want to try to get some understanding on. Like,
I agree, but I think that's another conversation. That's a whole different, like, we can really get into the weeds with that, and I think that's a bigger conversation. I definitely do think it's a bigger conversation. I think the most important thing in figuring it out when you're becoming a parent is, like what you said, being present. And you read a lot, educating yourself. And as moms to be, we're going to read and ask a lot of questions, so educating ourselves. But I think when you're young and you're becoming a parent, or you're just becoming a first-time parent, if you have somebody mentoring you, it may be easier to realize that you need to step back and take set your ego aside to figure this out. But if you don't have anyone mentoring you and you real spicy, or you got a real big ego as a young man, you're real defensive. How do you get to that place where you calm yourself and you realize that you need to take a step back and really look at this child, this human, that it's not about you and your feelings, but you still need to be heard as being his father?
Some of that comes in time. I mean, a lot of the keys is not going to come in a day, but educating yourself, you may get some of that. Having a mentor or people that you can kind of call on for advice, you'll get some of that. But I think as parents, it's important for us to give ourselves grace, right? I can remember just kind of feeling so much anxiety for feeling like I was screwing up all the time, right? And just kind of giving yourself grace, because we're constantly running and doing this and doing that, and we're trying to juggle it all and manage it all, and
be perfect.
We can't make the PTA meetings like the rest of the kids' moms in the school because we're some of the younger parents, or we gotta work. Just trying to juggle it all. Sometimes we can be very critical of ourselves. So I think just allowing ourselves to get a little bit of grace too, that we're doing the best that we can with the knowledge and resources that we have at the time. But I wanted to ask you a question. For some people who are intentional about, being a parent, maybe they don't have a kid yet, do you feel like there's any pros or cons to being a parent or having a kid young versus, let's say, wait until you're 35 to have a kid? Do you think it's better one way or the other?
I think there's definitely pros and cons about either way. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you plan to have a kid when you're 35 and you're trying to figure everything out with your life and get established prior, or whether God had different plans for you, you have a child before that, there's still going to be advantages and disadvantages on both sides. No matter how you flip it. And that is, to me, that's life. No matter how hard we try to plan something, and you should have a plan. You should have a plan. God said, write the vision, make it clear. So you should have a plan because you do need to be working towards something. But a lot of times when we're young, we're not all the time we have a plan. And I think sometimes as people, like, we do need to give ourselves grace, not just the appearance, but just give ourselves grace, because I could plan something and it can still go differently. And if it goes different, I still need to be able to adjust to that and be okay with the advantages and the disadvantages of how my plan changed.
Well, for me, I feel like you will be as good of a parent as the information that you have at the time. So I can actually make a very good case that the 20-year-old version of me would probably not be as wise of a parent as the 35-year-old version of me.
Of course.
Just because I'm in a different place mentally, mature-wise, spiritually. My level of understanding is greater. So you're more conscious of different things now. When you're older, you're thinking more about the different schools that you want them to go to, and your plan is a lot more intricate. But in order to be a good parent, you have to parent yourself.
Yeah, you don't have a plan when you're young and you're a parent. A lot of times your plan is, let me figure out me and let me make sure that I'm capable of taking care of this person. So where I'm going, he going. Where I'm at, she at. We rolling together. So a lot of times in that situation, your child grow up with you. So your child have seen you evolve without even realizing it until they get older and they can look back at some of the changes that they've seen you go through. And I don't think that there's no shame to that at all. I think that you have to embrace every stage that you're going through, because you don't know. I can remember looking at him, holding him, just in tears, like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this human, but I'm gonna mess his life up. Like, I am about to ruin this little boy's life. And just crying uncontrollably, like, what am I going to do? But thank God for the mothers that were in my life that mothered me, that was able to help me navigate through that and understand that I had postpartum depression. So it was really challenging for me. It was really hard for me. Like, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know, if it wasn't for the people in my life, I wouldn't have known how to navigate through that.
Speaking of postpartum depression, I'm not gonna bring this up.
What?
Being a parent also impacts the relationship. I mean, we gotta address that.
In what way?
In a lot of different ways, because
Well, it does, yeah, but what way specifically are you speaking?
Just with time. You know what I mean? We have to be a lot more intentional with making time for us in nurturing the relationship, because we're so all hands on deck with being there and supporting this baby. So a lot of times in relationships, the couples kind of get lost in the sauce because the entire focus is about the kid. And I won't lie, there's probably other men who can relate to feeling this way too at some point or another. Like, there were times where I became jealous of the baby in some instances, because it's just like, what about me? Like, there's no focus on me anymore. Everything is all about the baby, and anytime I want to do something with you, babe, I'm tired. Baby, I don't feel like it.
Okay.
Babe, I gotta get up early. The baby.
But that's the disadvantage, right? We talked about advantages and disadvantages of having whether you plan for a child or you don't plan for a child. So the advantages, if I'm planning for a child, I'm planning to allow myself to evolve, to allow myself to get financially stable to take care of this child, to allow myself to enjoy myself. If I want to travel, if I have dreams, let me reach for the stars before I bring another person into this world that is going to impede and impact my life and my time. So the advantage of planning is that I can get all that stuff out the way. But the advantages, one of them of not planning is it all hits you at once, and you're young and I'm figuring it out. So it wasn't about you. My concern to preserve our relationship wasn't at the forefront of my mind. It was figuring out this baby and figuring out, honestly, what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think we kind of struggled through that. And you mentioned postpartum depression, so I think that kind of speaks to the mental state that you're in as a mom. Like, your body is different. You're a new mom, so you're still kind of like adjusting, and you're having to deal with a new normal. And so for other mothers or women who could be who's going through postpartum, what kind of advice could you offer them to kind of help them through that?
I would say, if you have mentors, if you have a mother, talk to your mother about it. When you're feeling off, the first thing, talk to someone. Talk to your doctor. There's a lot of different things, especially now, teas and just different type of exercises that you can do that will help stimulate and help kind of get you out of that postpartum stage and get you through it. But definitely talk about it, because as a new mom, it's scary and you don't know what's happening. So once you talk about it to your mother or to your doctor, you find like, oh, this is something that's common or can happen, and this is, the best plan for me to navigate through this.
Interesting. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap here. What kind of words do you want to leave the people with before we wrap?
So, the topic was figuring it out. As a new dad, a new mom, my biggest takeaway is being present. Be present, educate yourself. If you have a mentor, if you have someone that mothered you, if you have someone that was a father figure in your life, you use that guidance. If you don't, like Mr. King Energy said, I'm gonna educate myself. I'm gonna be present no matter what. I'm gonna make myself available to learn everything that I need to learn. So put that education that you're learning into action.
And mentality is everything. It all starts with your mentality. Don't have the victim mentality. Have the go-getter, I'm gonna make it happen by any means mentality.
The I can do attitude.
Facts. Until the next time, that's all we got for y'all today. We want to thank y'all for tuning in to For Real Though. We'll be back soon with another video. I need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash that like button, hit that bell icon for notifications so you can get notified every time we drop a new video. Comment below on what you think and share this video to really help us out. Thanks for tuning in. Till the next time. Peace.